Have you wondered how to meet the uncertainty of not knowing what tonight will bring? Just not knowing if you'll fall asleep quickly, if it's going to be a long struggle, or whatever's going to come your way. If that uncertainty has made you anxious and that in itself is affecting your sleep and life, then you have come to the right video. This is exactly what we're going to talk about in today's episode of Mining the Comments. Welcome back. And yes, we are going to look at a comment from Neha. I actually don't know if that's the correct name or correct pronunciation. I'm guessing that the full name is Neha Kaur or something like that. But pardon me if I'm getting that wrong. But we're going to look at a question from Neha that I think will resonate with a lot of people in the community. And we're going to look at actually two nano concepts that fit perfectly as answers for the questions that Neha have. So yeah, without further ado, let us jump in and look at the actual comment from Neha, which is right here. It came in just 34 minutes ago, actually. And it is a comment on the sleep detox episode. And Neha writes the following: how do I deal with the fear / uncertainty of not knowing if I'll not sleep easily or quickly tonight? A few nights I fall asleep quickly because of the exhaustion, and then during the day I feel better and go to bed feeling calm and confident that I'll knock out quickly, but then I won't be able to sleep again for hours and hours. Sad face. How can I deal with the fear and uncertainty of not knowing if I'll sleep quickly like when I had a good night again? When will I be 100% confident in my ability to be able to fall asleep quickly again and that the insomnia is 100% gone? These are Neha's questions. And firstly, thanks for asking, and I hope you will find the answer here to be really, really helpful. So the kind of overarching question is this one again: how to deal with the fear of uncertainty, just not knowing what the night will bring, And then Neha wrote that a few nights Neha falls asleep quickly because of the exhaustion, feels better, and then is confident that sleep will happen again, but then it doesn't. This is kind of a pattern here. So we're going to look at two nada concepts that I think are really, really spot on here. And the first nada concept we talk about here is explaining away magic. And this this concept really is sort of the answer to a very common question or statement or observation. And it is when somebody says, "Hey, the only times where I sleep well is when I'm just completely exhausted, when I've gone sleepless or I'm just completely drained, exhausted. Like that's the only time I sleep well." And we can see that that's, on one hand, there is something attractive to that idea. But on the other hand, there's something kind of like really scary with that idea as well. But the part of this that can, to some degree, be actually attractive to our brain, our survival mind brain, is that there is something that we have some level of control over, right? If we think that, well, at least if I'm really exhausted, I sleep. So I know that if I'm, if I'm completely drained, then at least then I know that I'll sleep. I know that will make me sleep. So that even though exhaustion is not pleasant, the idea that there is something we have some degree of control over that indirectly controls our sleep, that can actually be attractive. But the unattractive part of this is, of course, that we think that, oh well, in my case, the only thing that makes me sleep is exhaustion. So I have to make myself exhausted, which is unattractive, right? So we can see both sides of this one. Now, here's the thing: the reality is that exhaustion by itself never, ever leads to peaceful sleep. When somebody says, like, the only time I sleep well is when I'm exhausted, we know that there's some confusion there. There's a confusion that the exhaustion makes somebody sleep well, but that is never, ever the case. And we have proof of concept from our channel, from the many, many, many testimonies of somebody who's gone, like, night after night after night after night after night of just struggling with sleep, and the person who is truly to the core exhausted and is still not sleeping well, and outside the realm of insomnia too, we have somebody who's like sleep deprived, for for they have a small baby or something that they care, they're sleep deprived and they're tired and they're not sleeping well either, right? Exhaustion by itself does not lead to peaceful sleep. Only one thing leads to peaceful sleep, and it is effortlessness. Not trying, that lack of hyper arousal. Peaceful sleep, sleeping well, is always something passive, something that just happens by itself. If somebody tries to make themselves exhausted so they can sleep, there's this effort there, that hyper arousal that keeps that person from sleeping well, even if they are exhausted. Now, why do I really, really want to point this out, that exhaustion is not required at all for peaceful sleep? Well, is that if we think so, that can lead to struggle, because we can think like, oh, my case is different. I need to be exhausted to sleep, and we're missing, what is so important to see, which is that effortlessness is the magic. The absence of trying, the absence of thinking we need anything in particular to sleep well. That is really really helpful. So if we think again, like I'm exhausted, and now I don't have to do anything to sleep, and we sleep well, then we can think that it's the exhaustion that did that. But it's the idea that there's no longer anything I have to do. I'm exhausted, so I don't have to do anything. And that, like, I don't have to do anything. That is that effortlessness. That is that lack of trying. That is the magic. That leads us to peaceful sleep. And I think it's helpful to see this, because when we think there's something necessary for sleep, whether it's exhaustion or like we need a certain pill or some chemical or we need some circumstance to be perfect, then we're kind of explaining away the magic. The magic is always within us, right? There's nothing needed that isn't within us, and that that effortlessness, the lack of doing anything, is that is always available within us, right? And sleep is always there within us, right? So that was the first one. Now we sort of covered like the first part of this, which was like I fall asleep quickly because of exhaustion, which is again not true. Like somebody can be really exhausted and still have struggle sleeping, right? And now to the second part, I feel better, and then I feel calm and confident that I'll knock out quickly, but then I won't be able. That doesn't happen, right? And the second part, fits very nicely to our second NADA concept, which is the concept of forecasting flux. Forecasting flux. And a very common way of forecasting is what we see here from Neha, is like, I'm feeling really confident in my sleep. I got this, and I'm gonna sleep great. Now, where does this lead us? A lot of people in our community think that if I just was more confident about my sleep, then I would sleep really great. Not the case. Forecasting is very tricky. When you forecast something like the weather, we can actually make a very, very accurate forecast at least a few days ahead, and this is because the weather isn't impacted by our forecasting. Whether I say it's going to rain tomorrow or snow tomorrow has no impact whatsoever on what happens with the weather. So we can actually collect all this data and put it in a big model and forecast the weather very, very nicely. But when we try to forecast something that is impacted by our forecast, you can sense that things become really tricky. If we forecast like that we're going to sleep well, and we're like, I'm sure I'm going to sleep well, and I need to do nothing about that. There's nothing needed further. Then that can lead us to that effortless place, and our forecast actually plays out. For that reason. Or we can do the exact same forecast. We forecast that we're going to sleep well, but then there's kind of seed of doubt, and we're like, we feel pressured. We're like, I forecasted I'm going to sleep well, but am I going to sleep well? And then we don't, right? And then we become really confused. And now when people hear this, somebody may go like, but so I have to forecast it with 100% confidence. That's not real. Every human being who's made any forecast at some point will have a little doubt there. And that doubt in itself can lead us to like, a big impact on the forecast. So it's not humanly possible to like become so confident that we become like absolutely 100% certain. No, that's not possible. So in fact, what we want to see is that whatever we forecast, it's going to eventually lead to flux, and then we're going to doubt our forecasts and our forecasting ability, and that's going to lead to more struggle, right? So what really helps is to not forecast, to just not make any predictions, to not try to foresee the future, which we cannot really foresee. And then, the paradox here is that when we're no longer attempting to forecast, then our sleep becomes more quote unquote predictable. The absence of forecasting means that there's nothing really impacting sleep, and this passive process of sleep can just happen by itself. Finally, here, Neha is asking, like, when will I be 100% confident in my ability to sleep, to be able to fall asleep quickly again, and that the insomnia is 100% gone? I will say to the first part of this that not a single human being that is alive really knows what their night will look like. I don't know. You don't know. My neighbor doesn't know. Nobody knows, right? If you ask anybody, like, are you 100% sure that you will fall asleep quickly tonight? Most people will probably go like, no, I don't know. The reality is that we all live in, with uncertainty. Uncertainty is just part of the human experience. And when we acknowledge that and we're no longer afraid of uncertainty, then things become much, much easier for us. Now, the second question, like, when will I be 100% sure that the insomnia is gone? That's the trickier one to answer. But I think the root of that one is that every single human being can have a choppy night, a night of little sleep for this or that reason. But insomnia is more how we react to that. Like, if we react with like, oh no, what happened with this? I have to prevent this from happening again. Then we can have an insomnia struggle. So I would say, like, to give some sense of this, is like, it's a bit of a journey of understanding and like, self-exploration to like really understand this and leave insomnia. But when we no longer have a fear of sleep disruption, when we're no longer scared of when we're, of not sleeping, that's when we no longer have insomnia, right? So that's a little bit a longer explanation for that one. But, again, the summary here will be that when we're no longer afraid of uncertainty that all humans face really daily, then things get easier and easier for us human beings. So I'll conclude there. Hope this was really helpful to you, Neha, and hope that was helpful to everyone watching this, of course. And with that said, I hope you have a peaceful and nice weekend ahead. Thanks for being here for this Mind in the Comments episode, and look forward to having you back real soon. Bye for now. They say that the best things in life are free. And I truly hope that this free video helps you rediscover something else that is free, which is peaceful sleep. If you do find our content here helpful, then please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it with people, because the more views we get, the more people we reach, the more chances of changing lives we have. The thing is, leaving insomnia for good is actually so, so simple. You can and will rediscover a beautiful life at the end of this sleepless tunnel. So yes, please share it with people, hit the subscribe button, and you will be a big part of leading the change that we so want to see in the sleep universe. Thank you.